stop trying to feel ready. Because readiness is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable, inconsistent, and mostly useless when it comes to changing your life. If you're waiting to feel confident, motivated, prepared, inspired, fearless, or in the zone, you're not being cautious. You're procrastinating with a better excuse. Let's be clear from the start. You are not stuck because you lack potential. You are stuck because you keep waiting for an internal signal that never comes. You think readiness comes before action. That's backwards. Action creates readiness. Always has. Always will. Every time you tell yourself, I'll start when I feel ready, what you're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to deal with it. And that's human. But it's also the reason most people die with the same life they were complaining about at 25. Readiness is a myth sold to people who want progress without discomfort. Nobody feels ready to do hard things. Nobody feels ready to risk failure. Nobody feels ready to look stupid, be judged, or fall short. They do it anyway. That's the difference. You're not behind because you're incapable. You're behind because you're negotiating with fear instead of ignoring it. Fear doesn't disappear when you wait. It gets stronger, more convincing, more creative. The longer you wait, the more reasons your brain invents to keep you where you are. You call it thinking. It's not. It's avoidance. You analyze, you plan, you research. You watch videos. You save posts. You imagine futures, but you don't move. And movement is the only thing that changes anything. Let me say something that might sting. If you've been getting ready for more than a few weeks, you're lying to yourself. Preparation has a deadline. Waiting does not. People who actually build things don't wait for clarity. They move in confusion. They don't wait to feel confident. They act while doubting themselves. They don't wait for fear to disappear. They act while afraid. And no, they're not special. They're not braver than you. They're not more motivated than you. They just stop listening to the voice that says, not yet. That voice feels reasonable. It sounds smart. It uses logic. But it's lying. That voice says, you need more information. You should be more prepared. Now is not the right time. You'll start next week. You'll do it when things calm down. That voice has one job: keep you safe. And safe means unchanged. Your brain doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about survival and comfort. Growth feels like danger to it. So it invents readiness as a delay tactic. Think about it honestly. How many times have you felt ready and still didn't act? Exactly, because readiness isn't the switch. Commitment is. And commitment doesn't feel good at the start. It feels heavy. It feels restrictive. It feels scary. You don't wake up one day ready to change your life. You wake up one day tired of your own excuses. Most people don't fail because they tried and lost. They fail because they never fully started. They lived in the warm illusion of soon. Soon I'll start. Soon I'll be disciplined. Soon I'll focus. Soon I'll become serious. Soon is the most dangerous word in your vocabulary. Soon has killed more potential than failure ever could. Failure teaches. Soon sedates. You keep waiting for the perfect version of yourself to arrive before you act. Let me be blunt. That version doesn't exist. You don't become disciplined and then start working. You work badly, inconsistently, imperfectly, and discipline forms. You don't become confident and then speak. You speak while nervous and confidence follows. You don't become focused and then commit. You commit and focus sharpens under pressure. Everything you want is on the other side of action, not readiness. And yes, action feels ugly at first. You'll be slow. You'll be awkward. You'll make mistakes. You'll look unprepared. Good. That's the price. If you're waiting to avoid embarrassment, you're choosing stagnation. No one skips the beginner phase. No one. The people you admire didn't feel ready. They just didn't wait. They moved with shaky hands and uncertain minds. You only see the outcome. You don't see the doubt they acted through. Stop romanticizing readiness. It's not wisdom. It's fear wearing a suit. You don't need more motivation. You need less negotiation. Every time you ask yourself, do I feel like doing this? You give fear a vote. Stop voting. Decide once. Then execute regardless of mood. Mood follows behavior, not the other way around. Waiting to feel ready is like waiting for the water to get warm before you jump in. It doesn't. You jump, and your body adapts. Life works the same way. Let's talk about discipline, because most people misunderstand it. Discipline is not intensity. It's not obsession. It's not grinding nonstop. Discipline is doing the thing even when the emotional reward is zero, especially then. Especially when you feel flat, bored, uninspired, or tired. Anyone can act when they feel good. That doesn't count. Your life is shaped by what you do on the days you don't feel ready. Those days are the test. And most people fail that test quietly, without drama. They don't crash. They don't burn out. They just delay. Day after day. Week after week. Year after year. And one day they wake up older, angrier, and confused about where the time went. It went into waiting. Here's something uncomfortable but true. If you were truly serious, you'd already be in motion. Not perfect motion. Not impressive motion. But motion. Even small. Even messy. Even embarrassing. Serious people don't wait for certainty. They build certainty through repetition. They don't ask, am I ready? They ask, what's the next action? And then they do it. No ceremony. No overthinking. No announcement. Just execution. You don't need a breakthrough. You need a standard. A rule you follow regardless of how you feel. Because feelings change. Standards don't. Set the bar low enough that excuses don't matter, but high enough that progress is inevitable. Then show up every day. Even when it feels pointless. Especially when it feels pointless. Progress rarely feels dramatic while it's happening. It feels boring, repetitive, unrewarding. That's why most people quit. They mistake boredom for failure. They think, if this was working, you'll live different months from now. Results lag behind effort. Always. Waiting to feel ready is another way of saying, I want proof before commitment. That's not how this works. You commit first. The proof comes later, and sometimes much later. You have to be willing to work in silence while nothing seems to change. That's the real barrier. Not talent, not resources, not opportunity. Patience under uncertainty. Most people don't lack ability. They lack tolerance for delayed feedback. They quit because they don't feel ready. Then they don't feel rewarded. Then they don't feel hopeful. So they stop. And then they convince themselves it wasn't meant for them. It wasn't meant for you because you never stayed long enough to find out. Stop asking how to feel ready. Ask how to act despite not feeling ready. That's the skill. That's the edge. That's what separates people who transform their lives from people who keep consuming advice. You don't need another video. You don't need another plan. You don't need another moment of inspiration. You need to start while doubting yourself. You need to work while uncertain. You need to move while scared. That's it. That's the whole formula. It's not sexy. It won't trend as a quote, but it works. Your future won't be built by the version of you that waits. It will be built by the version of you that acts without permission. No one is coming to tell you you're ready. No signal will appear. No feeling will lock in. No moment will feel perfect. This is the moment. Messy, unclear, uncomfortable. Start anyway, because readiness is not the requirement. Action is. And the sooner you stop trying to feel ready, the sooner your life actually begins. If you're still listening, here's the part most people avoid because it removes their last excuse. You already know what to do. Not the entire roadmap, not the perfect strategy, just the next obvious step. And you've known it for a long time. You're not confused. You're conflicted. You want change, but you don't want the cost. So you tell yourself you're not ready. Let's dismantle that lie completely. Readiness implies a finish line before the start. It implies you can prepare enough to avoid struggle. That's childish thinking. Struggle is not a glitch in the process. It is the process. You don't eliminate resistance. You train yourself to move through it. Every time you wait, you reinforce a habit. Not the habit of patience, the habit of avoidance. Your brain is learning something every day. Either I act even when it's uncomfortable, or I wait until comfort arrives. Guess which one becomes automatic? People love to talk about mindset, but they ignore behavior. Behavior is the real mindset. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are. If you repeatedly wait, you are training yourself to be passive. If you repeatedly act, you are training yourself to be decisive. There is no neutral. And here's the brutal part. No one cares how long you are getting ready. The world only responds to output. No one gives credit for intention. No one rewards potential. No one applauds preparation without execution. You can spend years sharpening the knife. If you never cut, it's useless. At some point, preparation becomes procrastination with better branding. And you crossed that point a long time ago. You say you're waiting for confidence. Confidence is a result, not a prerequisite. You say you're waiting for motivation. Motivation is a reaction to progress, not the cause of it. You say you're waiting for the right time. There is no right time. There is only now or not now. And not now keeps turning into never. Let's talk about fear properly. Fear isn't telling you to stop. Fear is asking you to slow down. That's it. Fear exists to make you cautious, not stagnant. But you misinterpret it as a stop sign instead of a speed bump. So you freeze. And freezing feels intelligent because it feels controlled. Action feels chaotic. Waiting feels safe. But safety has a cost. The cost is regret. Quiet regret. The kind that doesn't scream but sits with you at night. The kind that makes you restless, irritable, distracted. The kind that shows up as envy when you see others moving. Not because they're better than you, but because they're doing what you avoided. That regret compounds. And it gets heavier with time. Most people don't change because they haven't felt enough pain yet. They're uncomfortable, but not desperate. So they delay. They think they have time. That's another lie. Time doesn't announce when it's about to run out. It just keeps passing while you get ready. You don't need to hit rock bottom and start. That's another fantasy. Rock bottom destroys people more often than it motivates them. The smart move is to act while you still have energy, health, and options. Waiting for a crisis is lazy courage. Real courage is boring. It looks like showing up again when nothing dramatic happens. It looks like working without applause. It looks like continuing when the initial excitement dies. And it always dies. If your plan relies on staying excited, it's a bad plan. Excitement is a spike. Discipline is a baseline. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your systems. So stop asking how to feel ready. Start asking, what is the smallest action I can take today that moves this forward? Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, small enough that you can't justify avoiding it. Then do it without ceremony. No music, no countdown, no dramatic moment. Just do it. And tomorrow, do it again. That's how momentum is built. Momentum is not intensity, it's continuity. And continuity doesn't feel exciting, it feels repetitive. That's why it works. You've been trained by social media to expect transformation to feel powerful. It doesn't. It feels dull while it's happening. Power is only obvious in hindsight. While you're building it, it feels like nothing. That's where most people quit. They think this isn't working because they don't feel different. You won't feel different. Not at first. You'll just be slightly better at tolerating discomfort, then slightly more consistent, then slightly more capable. And one day, you'll look back and realize you crossed a line without noticing. That's how real change happens. Not through breakthroughs, through accumulation. Waiting to feel ready is waiting to feel certain. Certainty is rare and overrated. Competence is built under uncertainty. Every skill you respect was learned by someone who didn't feel ready. They felt exposed. They felt behind. They felt unqualified. They started anyway. And here's the final truth most people don't want to hear. You are already choosing. Every day you delay, you are choosing the life you have now. You are voting for it. By default. Silence is a vote. Inaction is a decision. So stop pretending you're undecided. You've decided to wait. Own that. Or change it. But don't lie to yourself and call it readiness. If you're waiting for permission, this is it. If you're waiting for confidence, it won't come first. If you're waiting for fear to disappear, it won't. Start scared. Start unsure. Start unprepared. Just start. Because 5 years from now, the only question that will matter is not whether you felt ready. It's whether you moved at all. And the answer is being written right now. By what you do next. Here's what really keeps you stuck. And I'm not going to dress this up. You're addicted to potential. Potential feels good because it lets you imagine success without risking failure. As long as you haven't started, you can still believe you would be great at it. The moment you act, fantasy dies and reality begins. Reality is slower. Reality is humbling. Reality exposes gaps. That's why you delay. Not because you're scared you'll fail, but because you're scared you won't be as good as you think you are. So you protect the idea of yourself instead of building the real version. This is where most people quietly sabotage their own lives. They would rather feel capable than become capable. Waiting preserves ego. Action tests it. And ego hates being tested. That's the real reason readiness feels important to you. It protects your self-image. If you never start, you never have to confront your limits. But here's the problem. Those limits don't disappear just because you avoid them. They harden. Every year you wait, it becomes harder to begin. Not because you're worse, but because the gap between who you are and who you imagine yourself to be keeps growing. That gap creates shame. Shame drains energy. Drained people don't act. That's the cycle. And getting ready is the fuel that keeps it alive. You think you're being patient, you're actually reinforcing hesitation. You think you're being strategic, you're actually avoiding exposure. You think you're being responsible. You're actually afraid of being seen trying. Let's be clear. Trying is visible. Trying can fail publicly. Trying can look stupid. That's the cost. There is no path forward that avoids that. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling comfort, not truth. You don't break fear by understanding it. You break fear by disobeying it. Fear doesn't respond to logic. It responds to evidence. And the only evidence it respects is action. Each time you act despite fear, fear weakens. Each time you wait, fear learns it controls you. This isn't philosophical. It's neurological. Your brain updates its rules based on behavior, not intention. If you keep waiting to feel ready, your brain concludes, this must be dangerous. We keep avoiding it. If you act anyway, it concludes, we survived. This is tolerable. That's how courage is built. Not through affirmations, through exposure. You don't become ready, you become adapted. And adaptation only happens after contact. Most people never make contact. They circle the edge of their lives, watching others step in. Then they call it fate, or luck, or unfairness. It's not. It's movement versus stillness. And before you start telling yourself, but my situation is different, stop. Different details. Same pattern. Everyone who changed their life did it under imperfect conditions. While tired, while uncertain, while busy, while doubting themselves. You are not uniquely disqualified. That belief is just another delay mechanism. If you had to sum this entire message into one brutal sentence, it would be this: you don't need to feel ready. You need to stop protecting yourself from discomfort. That's it. Discomfort is not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're finally doing something real. Comfort keeps you exactly where you are. Discomfort moves you forward. Choose. And don't overcomplicate it. You don't need a grand plan. You need a rule. A rule like, I act first, then adjust. I don't wait for motivation. I do the work even when it feels pointless. I don't negotiate with resistance. Rules remove emotion from the decision. And emotion is what keeps screwing you over. Make the decision once, then follow the rule. That's how people get out of their own way. And understand this, no one is coming to save you from starting. No mentor, no video, no book, no sign from the universe. If this message hits hard, good. It's supposed to, because comfort hasn't helped you so far. 5 years from now, you will be somewhere. That's guaranteed. The only variable is whether you moved or waited. And the scary part? Both feel normal while you're doing them. Waiting feels reasonable day by day. Until one day it feels irreversible. Action feels uncomfortable day by day. Until one day it feels inevitable. That's the fork in the road. You don't cross it by feeling ready. You cross it by stepping forward while unsure. So stop rehearsing. Stop preparing. Stop waiting for the internal green light. It's not coming. You either move now, imperfectly, or you stay exactly where you are, perfectly ready, forever. Start. Not when you feel ready. Now. And don't make it dramatic. Just make it non-negotiable. That's how this actually changes. At some point, motivation content becomes another form of avoidance. You listen. You nod. You feel something. Then you close it and go back to the same behavior. That's the trap. If this audio ends and nothing changes, then this was entertainment, not a turning point. And I'm not interested in entertaining you. You don't need another reminder. You need a line you refuse to cross anymore. A line like, I don't delay the obvious. I don't wait for clarity to begin. I don't protect my comfort at the cost of my future. Because understand this clearly, the real enemy is not fear. Fear is honest. The real enemy is self-betrayal. Every time you say I'll do it later and don't, you teach yourself that your word doesn't matter. That erosion is subtle, but it's devastating. You don't lose confidence all at once. You leak it through broken promises to yourself, through delayed actions, through plans you never execute. Eventually, you stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, everything feels heavy. That's where you are now. Not unready. Just tired of your own hesitation. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Your problem is not starting too late. Your problem is stopping too early. Every time. You quit mentally before you quit physically. You pull back before momentum has a chance to build. Then you call it realism. It's not realism. It's impatience disguised as intelligence. Real progress requires you to stay when it's boring, when it's slow, when nothing is validating you. That's the price of becoming someone you respect. So when this ends, don't sit there thinking. Don't reflect. Don't analyze. That's your old pattern. Stand up. Open the thing you've been avoiding. Take the smallest concrete action possible. Not the perfect one. The real one. Send the message. Write the first paragraph. Start the first rep. Apply. Publish. Show up. Then stop listening to motivational content for a while. You won't need it if you're actually moving. And if you ever catch yourself saying, I'm not ready again, hear it for what it really is. I'm choosing comfort over growth. Say it honestly. Then decide if that's who you are. This isn't about intensity. It's about integrity. Do what you said you would do, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then. That's the difference between people who change and people who stay inspired forever.